As you might know, Ubisoft and many other developers have internal names for their projects. Assassin's Creed Victory turned out to be Syndicate, and Assassin's Creed Kingdom was Valhalla. Well, now we learned that Assassin's Creed Rift is actually being called Assassin's Creed Mirage. But that is just one of the many new leaked details we got about this next Assassin's Creed game, thanks to French YouTuber Jonathan, who has been right before. He was the first to share images of the Odin powers in Valhalla, revealed info on Siege of Paris before release, and also shared info on a Lionheart game which was in development at Ubisoft Sofia, but cancelled in favor of Dawn of Ragnarok. So let's go over the leaked Basim game details, and there's also a mention of an AC1 remake. So of course, if you are curious about the future of Assassin's Creed, then leaving a like would really help me out with the algorithm of YouTube. Subscribe for everything Assassin's Creed if you haven't already, and let's go. That the title is Assassin's Creed Mirage is now being confirmed by many different people, including Jeff Grubb responding to the Jonathan leak, and also Colin Moriarty revealed on his podcast, thanks to Highlight 13, that this will be the name.
Hearing that Project Rift Assassin's Creed game is called Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Now let's go over everything Jonathan shared, and I'll of course leave a link to his French video in the video description. Valhalla took place starting 872, and Mirage should be just before that, between 860 and 870 in Baghdad, during the anarchy in Samarra. And this was a time of a lot of conflict in the Abbasid Caliphate, with 4 political leaders known as caliphs murdered. So as already leaked, we will play Basim in his younger years as a thief until he joins the Hidden Ones, and really if you think about it, we don't know the real Basim. He was a really successful assassin before being consumed by Loki. So Jonathan basically notes that in Mirage we will get to know the real Basim, but also experience visions of Loki, and they should work similar to the animus anomalies we had in Valhalla, so likely be a side activity. But the fact that we will become a real Hidden One and likely get coached by the mentor who was sending letters to Hytem in Valhalla will of course be very interesting, with Andy Reloads a while back also sharing files that were found in Valhalla, mentioning Rift already. Here we also saw Baghdad detection and other features like a parkour gym and a social blending. And Jonathan now notes that RPG elements will not be present in this game, so no dialogue options, which to be fair were also less present in Valhalla versus Odyssey, and were also not really utilized in any of the expansions. A quick reminder that the team behind Wrath of the Druids is leading the development on Mirage. Of course, we have no gender choice because we play Basim, and there's also no level system in this game. So we can likely, from moment one, explore every part of Baghdad and not have like skull enemies show up that we cannot defeat. Although you would imagine that there will still be more difficult enemies, but I just hope that we can already take them out early on if we just use our tools in a strategic way. Now speaking of tools, Jonathan notes that the string dagger is making a return, and while talking about this in his video, he shows Assassin's Creed 3 footage of the rope dart and also how Basim used the harpoon ability we can also of course do as Eivor during the boss encounter in Valhalla. So maybe we can still grab enemies and throw them against each other in Mirage, but it seems that we will also have even more uses. In Valhalla we also got the spinning harpoon ability, of course post-launch. I don't see Basim use that, but yeah, it seems like the harpoon or rope dart in general will play a big role in this new game. Eagle Vision should be back, so likely where we stand still and scan the environment instead of having the pulse that we of course got in Valhalla and some of the other recent games. But Jonathan also notes that the drone bird is back. I don't think I ever heard Basim mention that he has a bird, but correct me if I'm wrong. I really think that is the Valhalla blueprint that is shining through, like it's such a core element in that game that it is hard to kind of remove that completely. Mirage should have less raw animations though. Valhalla's takedowns were of course really focused on being a Viking, so we will likely see new animations in this game. I mean, you would hope. And I also would not be surprised if like the stun attacks are gone completely. Jonathan also teases that we will be able to do a double assassination in Mirage, although Basim of course only has one hidden blade. Jonathan seems to know how he will be able to pull it off, but he did not want to spoil it, so Let's keep it a surprise, although of course your theories are more than welcome in the comments down below. A bit of sad news, if true, is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of modern day content in Mirage, only at the start where Basim goes into the Animus. Which kinda weird for a title that should feel more like the older games, although it is in line with the fact that DLCs for Valhalla did not include any modern day parts, period, and again this started out as a DLC, and also usually content not made by a core Assassin's Creed team does not have a lot of modern day content. Now things could of course change, like there are a ton of cool things that they could do with Basim and the Animus, so I hope they explore that, and it is of course once again worth noting that we should take everything with a grain of salt. Jason Schreier also chimed in, saying that some of the leak is true, but also some parts are not, referring to the multiple cities to explore. But I reached out to Jonathan, and turns out that something went wrong with the translation, and that he actually meant that we will be able to explore Baghdad, but that it's divided into 4 zones, each with its own boss. And that there will still be a desert, oasis, and rivers kinda around those zones. And you, by the way, see footage here from Assassin's Creed Central, who wanted to give us a glimpse at what Rift could look like. So he made this cool tech demo in Unreal Engine 5. I will leave a link to it in the video description for if you are curious. But there's more. Jonathan says that he saw an AC Rift document where Alter Ear was noted. But it would not make sense for him to be in this game because Mirage takes place a few hundred years before AC1. So that's why he thinks it has to be for the remake, and this is what he communicated about that. Ubisoft is secretly preparing the remake of AC1 based on Rift Mirage's work. They will reuse a large part of the assets. Something I kinda speculated as well in a previous video, because I think that makes sense if they are making it for Rift. But it gets even spicier, and I'm not sure if this is good or bad news, but let's continue. So Jonathan notes that the AC1 remake should be integrated into a season pass, which will also include DLC in Constantinople when Basim meets Sigurd. It will be released a few months later. We did see the actor behind Basim and Sigurd meet on Instagram recently. Could be for fun or maybe to work on something, but like a DLC to see how they would meet would of course be way cooler than just a small epilogue with a cutscene. But yeah, the big lure towards the season pass, if this of course real, seems to be the Assassin's Creed 1 remake. And Ubisoft has used this tactic many times before. The Watch Dogs Legion season pass included the first Watch Dogs. Far Cry 5 had Far Cry 3 remastered, and the season pass for Far Cry 6 included Blood Dragon. And the hype for Odyssey wasn't that big before launch, so a few weeks before release they announced that Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered was also part of the season pass next to the many DLC episodes. Like, in retrospect, the amount of value you got is really insane. But yeah, back then this helped to get more people interested in Odyssey in the first place, and I can totally see them do a similar tactic here. Like, if the AC1 remake is exclusive to the Gold Edition and Season Pass of Mirage, then maybe more people are willing to spend the same amount of money they would on a Valhalla Gold Edition, even though Mirage is going to be a way smaller title. Now again, we don't know if the AC1 remake is real, let alone if it's part of the Season Pass. Jonathan seems to be just speculating based on the things he saw and heard. But I am worried though, like, if this is going to be the case, because I personally would love an AC1 remake on the same level as a Resident Evil remake or Demon's Souls, for example. But yeah, if it's just one goodie in the Season Pass, then it will probably be more like Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, which sure came with some quality of life improvements to the gameplay, but mostly better graphics and facial expressions. Like, maybe a full-on AC1 remake from the ground up was never realistic, as Ubisoft so far still has to prove that they can even make a proper remake, especially after the reveal of the Prince of Persia Sands of Time game. So yeah, I can totally see it as part of the Season Pass to entice people to buy the more expensive version of Mirage, or buy Mirage in the first place. But once again, it is worth noting that Jason said that he definitely did not corroborate on the AC1 remake part of this leak. So AC1 remake being a thing could be fake, although we had of course some hints from Ubisoft before. Let's just not expect it, and then hopefully we will be surprised on September 10th, because that is likely the date that we will see Mirage, with Jeff Grubb on his new Game as calendar not only saying Ubisoft Forward, but also the Assassin's Creed thing for September 10th. We will likely not get an exact date at the reveal, because the game is planned for spring 2023 and was recently delayed from February out of Ubisoft's financial year, and you only really do that if you need a lot of extra time, not just like a couple of months. So I think like end of May or June is probably going to be the planned date. Jonathan notes that it seems that the game is still coming to PS4 and Xbox One, because again it's running on the Valhalla tools. It was first a DLC, and Ubisoft also seems to be afraid that the old formula will not attract as much people, which I find very interesting. So that's why it would also be stupid to not release on Xbox One and PS4, and that's why he also thinks that a remake integrated in the Season Pass will of course make the game more attractive. So that's why it also might happen. Subscribe to not miss anything regarding Assassin's Creed Mirage and other AC projects that will likely be revealed on September 10th. And totally check out my recent video by clicking on the screen on the Assassin's Creed game after this, Assassin's Creed Infinity. And we also had other big teases from Ubisoft. A like of course would really help me out, and I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.